Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's your boy Jan Moses, back here with episode 1 of my salary cap report. Going to be starting up this series where I'm going to be giving my feedback on salary cap and all things related to salary cap, mostly related to lineups, because as the season progresses, we're going to see salary cap values for the players that we're using in our lineups fluctuate quite a bit. And I think we're going to see a number of players who just came out on Friday go up in value, including a player who I talked about a lot in Karl Anthony Towns. I actually mentioned this exact circumstance happening on Monday. This video, by the way, is being recorded on Sunday, October 20th, and it's going to be dropping on Monday, October the 21st. So by the time this video is out, we may see Karl Towns at a much higher salary value than the 2,500 that he's currently listed at as of Sunday. I think that value is going to go up closer to maybe 4,000 to 5,000 in salary. I think 5,000 makes a lot of sense to me, because a lot of people bought the Pro Pass and are probably using him this weekend. So yeah, Karl Towns is going to probably go up in value drastically, and when that happens, I'm going to have to alter my lineup again. So I may put out another video later on, maybe late night Monday, early morning Tuesday before I go live, because when I go live on Tuesday, so that we could do the agenda grind on whatever the Tuesday promo is together, we're going to probably see some sort of promo related to the NBA is back, just like we had a year ago around this time in NBA 2K24. I want to also play salary cap on that stream, and so I'm going to need a new lineup anyway. So the point of this series, I know that was kind of like a long-winded intro, is for me to talk about lineups and how to improve your lineup and make your lineup as good as you can make it as the season goes on and these salary cap values fluctuate. And I want to kind of talk about different things that I'm picking up on, different trends that I'm noticing. I played, as you can see here, 10 games. In all actuality, I only played 9. I ended up quitting my first game right away. I matched up against someone who, I'm forgetting his gamer tag, but he's someone that I've seen other people play online against, and he is an absolute sweat. In the first 90 seconds of us booting into that game, that guy was in his defensive settings for that entire 90 seconds, doing stuff in his defensive assignments tab. And I did not want to start off my first game of my salary cap journey here in round 1 playing against someone that was going to sweat like that. I had no interest. I quit. I took that L and I moved on with my life. And we went 7-2 the rest of the way. We actually ended on a 5-game winning streak, which I'm really happy about. And I want to just report the number of games, first of all, that I think you're going to have to play in order to get the 2 shatter prize pieces. You can see here, the second one will come at the 2,500 point mark. So I did the math. If you were to play, all your salary cap games, let's say you play and you average 125 points per game, factoring in wins and losses, I think in order to average 125 points per game, you need to have roughly over a 500 record, meaning you're going to win slightly more games than you lose, and you average 125 points per game. That's going to get you to the 2,500 point mark at exactly 20 games played, which is really not all that bad. Playing 20 games of salary cap every 14 days is really not that bad. You need to play just over 1 game a day, and odds are, if you're playing salary cap, you're probably going to play more than 1 game in a day. But it's kind of nice that if I get home late at night on a Monday and I want to just play a quick salary cap game, that win or loss, I'm going to have points count towards my my point total, and we can slowly inch our way to the 2,500 point mark that we need before round 1 ends in, I guess as of this video going live, 10 days until round 2 starts. So that's my first finding. I found that in wins, I was getting between like 175 and 90 points. And then, 175 to 190. And then in losses, I was getting, let me see if I can pull up my notes, because I did keep tabs on how many points I got after every game, win or loss. So in my 2 losses, I got 69 points, very nice. And I got 86 points. And then in my wins, the lowest number I got was 148 points, and that's because my opponent quit, I think, right after halftime. And then the most number of points I got was 194 points. Everything else seemed to be between 169 and 184. So not too bad. Probably averages out to about 175 points per win, assuming your opponent doesn't quit. So pretty nice. I think for the day, I averaged 155 points per game played, which is really good, but I also don't think that's going to be sustainable. I don't think I'm going to go, for the rest of the season playing salary cap at the same, rate that I'm going at. Winning, 7 games for every 2 to 3 games that I lose is not going to happen. At least I don't think so. But, a really good start nonetheless. I'm really happy with this start. Let's talk about some of the players in my lineup and what I've noticed. Because if you take a look here, you're going to see some players that are new or that are playing in other positions than what you saw in my salary cap video that I had uploaded, I think 2 days ago or so, or maybe even it was, yesterday. I honestly don't remember because I'm recording this video on Sunday, October 20th. I think that video I uploaded where I went over salary cap and why you should play it was for me last night, for you guys 2 nights ago on Saturday, October the 19th, where I showed you guys my lineup. This lineup is different in part because my good buddy Bimbo Coles had a little foot boo-boo in our second to last game. And I wanted to play that last game, and I'm glad I did. It was a super sweaty game. Brought in Austin Rivers. He's really good. And I will say right off the rip, Austin Rivers is the player who I've seen the most at the point guard position. A lot of people know he's really good. Yes, his salary cap value being at 1,200 is really high. I think it's the highest value that any Ruby card can have. But he's a 6'4" point guard with 17 gold badges and a really good jumper. And 17 good gold badges. Like, this card is an absolute menace. If you can fit him into your lineup, I would say do so, because if for no other reason than you just having him out there to combat your opponent's Austin Rivers card, he's worth having in your lineup. I will be going back to Bimbo Coles though on Tuesday, just because I love Bimbo Coles. He's only 500 salary, and having a guy like Bimbo Coles, who I trust at the point guard position, at a salary that low, he's 700 salary less than Austin Rivers, allows me to be a little more flexible with how I set up my lineup. For example, I had to bring in Jarvis Hayes, who's a really good card, by the way, who dropped on Friday. But I don't love Jarvis Hayes' jumper. Although as an Emerald, 500 salary, he's really good. 9 gold badges, and they're all pretty good gold badges, especially defensively. Really good card to have out there. Eddie Jones, a player that I know a lot of you guys don't have, just like with Bimbo Coles. Eddie Jones, putting him in over Vince Carter was amazing. He was so good for me defensively, so much better than Vince Carter. Him and Josh Childress were actually amazing. I felt like I was watching OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges out there playing defense. The whole Wingstop meme that people have been, referring to when it comes to OG and Mikal Bridges defensively for the Knicks this season. Josh Childress is so good defensively. In my last game that I played against someone who I think was really good. He was in the Ruby tier in terms of rep, and he kept sending his Ruby James Posey, who's a really good card in his own right, in on off-ball cuts, and Josh Childress shut him down. That James Posey, I think, went 1 for 5, and I'm pretty sure all 5 of those shot attempts came off of off-ball cut drives, and Josh Childress just shut that down basically 80% of the time. So he's really good for a Sapphire. He only costs 500 salary. This is a card that should go up. I think a lot of these budget beasts, a lot of these cards who I mentioned in my video a week ago, where I talked about low tier cards that you guys should be targeting on the auction house because of super packs coming out. A lot of these cards have gone up in value as well. These cards are going to probably also go up in salary cap value this week, because I do think a lot of people are going to be trying to grind salary cap naturally for what I believe is going to end up being, by season's end, 2 92 plus hidden gems cards. Other cards that I think are really good for me. I mean, Otto Porter, he played pretty well for me. I just didn't get to really use him all that much. My shooting guards really don't get a lot of shine. That's why I like having guys that I trust defensively there. Otto Porter was playing my 3 up until this last game, where once again Bimbo Coles went down with an injury. I forgot who I had at the backup too next to Otto Porter. But Jarvis Hayes, like I mentioned, really good defender. I do want to give a shout out to John Collins, and I want to give a massive shout out to Channing Frye. I think Channing Frye, in terms of budget beasts, after Josh Childress, made the next biggest impact on my team. I had Purvis Ellison here originally, and I had Channing Frye as my 13th man, who I could bring in if I was dealing with an off-baller and I needed to have a stretch 5 play for me. Channing Frye ended up overtaking Purvis Ellison for me for 2 reasons. First of all, Purvis Ellison, as great as he is, and I love Purvis Ellison, if you look at his salary cap value, he's 800 salary, and while he is elite at a lot of things for a Sapphire, he's not a good shooter. I mean, I could try to shoot with him. I know his jumper is butter, but he still has a 59 three-pointer, and I don't know if I trust that enough to make, a ton. Whereas, at least with Channing Frye, while his jumper isn't the quickest, my opponent did have to play tight when he was playing off ball, and that allowed me open lanes to drive in with Bimbo Coles and Austin Rivers. So it's really nice to have Channing Frye out there for that. But even more importantly than that, defensively, Channing Frye was an absolute monster for me. He was getting blocks, he was getting rebounds, he was holding his own defensively, and even though on offense it felt really slow, running with him with his with his low speed. I think he's at a 60 speed. Defensively, for whatever reason, it felt like he was moving much more quickly. And so yeah, shout out Channing Frye. Maybe it's because he's donning that New York Knicks uniform, but he played really well for me. And same thing with John Collins. Honestly, John Collins, I was debating him and Channing Frye to bring off the bench as my backup center in my previous video, and now I'm running both of them in my front court, and they're both great. Channing Frye, really good shooter. John Collins, really nice jumper, and he's a really solid defender as well. And he did a great job for me in the low block, both defensively and offensively. He was a menace in the post, getting dunks and swatting shots. Really, really good card. I also want to give credit to Lamar Odom. I always forget how good Lamar Odom is for me, and he's only 300 salary because he was an Evo starting at, and I think he was an Emerald to start. And I think Lamar Odom is a card who he could go up in salary too, because I think a lot of people should be using him, and for that reason he should go up in value, but I didn't see a lot of people using Lamar Odom. So if you have him, definitely use him. I think especially as we see some of these players go up in salary cap value, some of these low tier cards, a guy like Lamar Odom is going to be pivotal to have on your team in order for you to have players like an Eddie Jones, like a Jalen Brunson, potentially like a Karl Anthony Towns, who are going to be going up in salary cap value potentially on Monday, October the 21st. Last but not least, I want to give some credit to these guys, even though they didn't really play all that much. Derek White, Jamario Moon, and Marcus Camby. Let's start with Marcus Camby. Marcus Camby is effectively my Purvis Ellison replacement, because he kind of gives you, 75 cents on the dollar of what Purvis Ellison gives you. Here's the guy who is a really good dunker, isn't super fast, only 64 speed, which is, I think, 19 less than what Purvis Ellison brings to the table, but a really good rebounder. 87 interior defense is great, and he comes with 6 gold badges, and a lot of these gold and silver badges are defensive and rebound oriented. So this card, if you need to spell your center for a little bit, you can bring him in very easily, and you can have him do some good work for you defensively. Jamario Moon, a lot of people have talked about him. Really nice jump shot, really nice 3-point rating. He's very athletic, 84 speed. If you want to bring in another guy at the small forward position, like if I was struggling to hit jumpers with Jarvis Hayes because of his jumper being very slow, I'm happy to bring in Jamario Moon. The main reason why I have Jarvis Hayes in there right now is because I like his defensive badges, and overall his ratings are just incredible for an Emerald. And then last but not least, Derek White, 6'4" shooting guard / point guard. Shout out to Hoops Highlight, who told me to bring him in. As an 11th man, having 3 gold badges that are all defense oriented, then he has a solid 3-point rating at a 79, 86 ball handle, 84 perimeter defense, 83 speed. Nothing elite, obviously, by any stretch, but as an Emerald who's only going to cost you 300 salary, if you're in a place with your lineup where you have your 10 roster spots filled up and you're at like 9,500, you don't need to just, or I should say, let's say you have all these players, in your lineup, these 10, right? These 10 guys right here. And you're at, let's say you have like 800 to 1,000 salary cap left and you have no one else in your lineup or in your collection that you want to bring in. I would say bring in some higher tier cards off the bench. Bring in a couple of Emeralds, bring in maybe a Sapphire. And then, there's so many good golds, like I mentioned. Other good golds that I like. I love Robert Covington. I love Patrick Beverly, Jose Alvarado, Dan DeCow. All these gold cards that are good role players at what you need. Derek White, Patrick Beverly, Robert Covington, Marcus Camby. These are all really good defenders. Jose Alvarado, really good defender. Patrick Beverly, same thing. Dan DeCow, an elite shooter at the point guard position. Who else is a really good shooter? Damian Jones, an Emerald card, I think from Barbecue Buckets. Damian Jones was the other Emerald I was thinking of bringing in off the bench. Take a look at Damian Jones right here. 8 gold badges, and they're all shooting based. And his jumper is pretty nice. So this is a card that honestly I'm debating still bringing in maybe in place of Derek White in case I want to go with more offense over defense. I just think doing the little things like that will help you move the needle in certain games where you're playing against someone and it's super sweaty and you just need 3 to 5 minutes to spell at the point guard position because your Jalen Brunson and your Austin Rivers are both in the low 80s in terms of energy. Bringing in a guy like Derek White if you need defense, or a guy like Damian Jones or Dan DeCow even if you need offense, might help you in the long run, because all you need is that one stop, that one three-pointer from them, and then you bring in your guy after a timeout, and then all of a sudden your Jalen Brunson has, you know, a couple more energy points in there, you know, or not energy points, stamina, sorry, in him, a little more gas in the tank to come out and close out the game for you. Again, for me, it's all about winning the margins. That's how I was able to go 7-2 ultimately in salary cap today, and you know, we'll see how that works for us on Tuesday, but I'm really feeling bullish about my odds of getting to 2,500 points before the weekend if we keep playing like this. But we'll have to see. That's all I got for you guys. Shout out to all of you guys that were hanging out with us in chat today. It was a really fun stream. Really hope to see you guys in stream on Tuesday. Again, I mentioned it in my previous video. Let me know down below, especially with this video coming out on Monday and us probably seeing salary cap values be adjusted. Let me know who are some new budget beasts, some new cars that maybe have lower salaries still after the Monday adjustment, who you're going to include in your lineup, because I want to adjust my lineup to, you know, factor in the fact that Karl Towns is going to probably see his salary cap value be doubled. Appreciate you guys as always, and until next time, I'll see you later.